Hi and welcome. I'm your host, Jennifer Brown, and today I have a very special guest with me. Please welcome Paulo Zanetti. Paulo, thank you so much for being my guest today.
Hi, darling. Thank you so much, and thank you for pronouncing my name right. You get a cookie just for that. You didn't do the Zanetti. In Brazil, we have more passion. It's Zanetti,
100%. Oh my
Yes.
goodness. And before
Yeah.
we get started, so Brazil being, the biggest coffee producer and obviously
Yeah.
Connection Over a Cup is
hmm
a coffee inspired podcast. Do you have your own coffee ritual or a story about, maybe how Brazilians enjoy their coffee that you could
hmm
share with the listeners?
You know, Coffee is really part of our blood there. It's just like soccer. Most people love soccer. Everybody loves coffee, that's for sure. It's the morning thing. You wake up and I remember I have memories of my mother, making coffee, and it will wake up and the whole house, it smells so great. And
Hmm.
that's your beginning of the day. And I do every day. I've been drinking coffee for a while now. It's just every morning is a fun thing. And I first take the dogs out and feed the dogs, and my coffee is just there waiting for me. And it's just the beginning of the day. So,
Isn't it lovely?
oh,
I
it's
know.
wonderful. And by the way, the coffee you sent me is delicious and it smells wonderful.
Thank you.
So
Thank
good for
you.
you. No surprise, because I know you for so many years. I knew that you wouldn't put your name on something that wasn't great. So
Well,
good,
thank
good pick.
you.
So
I
that one
appreciate
was
that.
from where? What was the country that was that coffee?
That one was not Brazil. I tried to give
No,
you a
I know.
little bit more spice in your life. That's
Yeah,
Nicaragua.
it was great. It was really, really. There's something in the soil in South America that
Yes.
it makes the coffee just be so fantastic. So
I'd
so
have to
thank you.
agree with you. It's really
Yeah.
interesting how the different areas lend different flavors to the coffee, and I really started to learn that the more I got into this, but Brazilian coffee is
Oh,
obviously
it's
one of
delicious.
the best for a reason, right? You
Yes,
guys
yes.
know what you're doing. So for everyone, the reason that I mentioned Brazil, and if you haven't, picked up on it yet, Paulo is from Brazil. And I met him way back when we actually worked together. But before we get started with those really juicy stories, I wanted Paulo to share maybe why did you decide to come to the US? I know, especially right now, there's a lot of talk around foreign
Mhm.
nationals coming to the United States. And I don't want to get into that, but
Yeah.
I have always really gravitated towards other cultures and just that melting pot and what
Mhm.
you can discover about other countries, other customs. Like
Mhm.
I just loved how positive and fun and spicy
Mhm.
you were. And you've been that way since I met you, and
Thank
that
you.
I attribute to the country of Brazil. Like I've met many Brazilians and there's just this love of life, that's in the culture, in my opinion. So made you decide?
Jan, I was 6 years old when I looked at my mom and I said, I'm going to move to America. And she
Wow.
looked 6 years old. My mother looked down at me and she said, Oh, that's wonderful. Finish your yogurt and we will talk about that later. She thought I was kidding. She thought I was kidding. And just after that, I started trying to learn English as fast as I could.
Wow.
And I had a dream to come to this country because it represents a bigger chance. I loved everything about it. I love the music.
Hmm.
American music, it's very, very big in Brazil. So we love American music. And all the hits that play here they play there. And I want to come here. So it took me 20 years,
Hmm.
actually almost 21 years to be able to move to the United States. And I remember when I arrived in LA, with $3,000, which was the most money I ever had at once in my pocket. And I was so happy. And I think, oh, I'm the king of this planet. And when I bought the first burrito for $10, I'm like, oh my goodness. And then I had a tooth problem and I went to the dentist and it was $3,000. I'm like, oh my. So I started working and cleaning houses and
Hmm.
doing working construction, whatever I could put my hands in working. But I have no regrets because I know today that the reason I came to this country because I had the most beautiful people that I have to meet, like you and other people
Ah.
that were in my life, and they always stayed in my life, even if I have no contact with them anymore. I moved
Hmm.
things, it was a long time ago, and I still think about them, and I'm so thankful. And all the great stories that we had working at pet food together were like, we should have, we should write a book because it was a lot of fun. Crazy people who work like crazy. The whole Studio City area, it's a really hot area in many different ways. People were
Yes,
fun,
yes.
but demanding. They were demanding. And we were a great team. That team that we had, we worked super hard. And
Oh,
we
I
always
agree.
have fun,
I
right?
agree. It was
Yeah.
humble beginnings for those of you
Yes.
that don't
For all
know.
of
Paulo
us.
and I,
Yeah.
we started
That helped me
small.
later to, whatever I learned there, I learned, a lot about, I knew about animals, but about products and the culture. So I could open my store later on. It helped me a lot.
Exactly, exactly. I think that's a key piece too is, many of the people that I've met who are successful, they take whatever they're doing
Hmm.
and they decide, "Okay, I'm going to learn from this experience, and I'm going to take what I learn and apply it to the next adventure."
Yes.
And I definitely know that you have done that. I will say Petco, to your point, was such an experience. I think
Oh,
beyond anything, I usually speak to it's more of who you work with than where you work. Not always the
oh,
case,
yes.
but
Yes.
most certainly in that one, I really enjoyed who we worked with, and you and I were, very hard workers, but we got into
Yes.
some shenanigans and
Yes. The first day that, when I became an assistant manager, the first day that you left the store and I was on my own, I was doing somebody, I think they were doing something on the roof. And 2 seconds later, 20 people came in because they sprayed something in all the cars. They were all dirty. And I was like, oh my God. And these people were so mad. I'm like, what I'm going to do? So I sent them all to the car wash. Just bring me the receipt, spend whatever you want, come back and Petco will pay for it. I didn't even know if they're going to pay for it, but only one person came back actually. It did work. And it was just funny because I was like 2 minutes here and I'm just in trouble already.
But see,
It
you
was
improvised. It was fine.
Yes. Yeah. That's the Brazilian way. There's nothing we cannot deal with because you were asking me about how, Brazil influences me. It's just, we are so thankful. We're
Mm.
thankful for the little things because we don't have a lot.
Mhm,
Brazil, we
mhm.
have, the middle class where I was kind of hanging almost on the poverty level. And then there is the super rich, super rich. And it was, I'm always thankful. If I have, you have food, you should be thankful. Nothing hurts. It's a good day.
Right,
So
right,
that's
right.
how things work in Brazil.
So that brings me to one of the main topic of this podcast, I should say, is
Mhm,
community and community building. And I'd love to
mhm.
hear different people's perspectives. And you coming to, the United States, how did you build community? Like how, obviously it's a new country. Yes, you knew the
Yes,
language, but you didn't know
yes.
anyone.
Yeah,
So how
no,
did you
I
start
had a
to build that?
friend, and that was a good beginning. But what I did, even I was able to speak English well already because I went to, a university and 6.5 years of private school. Some people have that facility, they just look at the language and they just start saying things that
Hmm.
make sense. I was
Hmm.
like a goat, you know what I mean? I remember the first private class that I have. We have other people in the class, but it was just a great class. And then after 2 hours, and I have a class, the last thing you had to say, "Hi, my name is Paulo." You have the tags with your names and
Yes,
stuff.
yes.
And then I said to look at this guy, say, "Hi, my name," and I couldn't finish the sentence. And then he read my name, Paulo. I said, "Yes, how do you know that?" I was 16 years old. I was so excited
Oh.
to be there. But I remember going home and I would study. I worked 10 hours a day because I started working at 14. I started looking for a
Hmm.
job at 13, but 14, I had a job and it was 10 hours a day. I had 1 hour that I was for lunch that was split in half for, getting something to eat and the other
Hmm.
half just to study. Because my father said, we're not that poor that you need to work. I said, but I know I've been saving to buy a house since I was 4 because that's what my mother, taught me.
Ah.
And I just want to save more money. And he says, if you drop your grades, you're going to go back to day school and the
Mm.
job is over. I said, deal. So I knew, I have pressure on me that I have to keep going. And I would go home and I would take a nap for about 2 hours and then I would study from about 2 o'clock to until 10 o'clock at night, and just
Wow.
repeating and repeating because it was so hard for me.
Sure.
Last year, a year and a half ago, I figured out finally, like, I think I have ADHD. You know what I mean? Like, this, I started reading about like that fit. So I went to a psychiatrist and he did a test. Oh, did I pass the test or what? Especially when I asked him, what do you mean you don't have a song in your head all the time?
Oh
And that
my.
helped me so much because not only now I take a couple pills a day and, and it helps me to concentrate, but also helped me to be kinder to myself
Mhm.
because I
Made
was
sense.
so hard on myself.
Yes.
Why can you not learn this? I know I'm intelligent. Why can you not? So that makes things to make sense that I have
Yes.
so many difficulties. But
Yes.
one thing about ADHD is that we don't give up. We
No.
will die first. I will
Yes.
die first, but I
I
will get
attest
there.
to that. I see you
Uh,
all the time. You do not give up.
and I sleep very little, which I use my time. I sleep about 3 to 4 hours a day, and the rest I'm on the go. And I'm always,
Wow.
I have that sense to do not waste time. The other thing with ADHD people is that I notice that we have a very, very kind heart.
Mhm.
And I will never change that, even if it's easier to learn. You know what I mean?
Mhm. Mhm.
If it's easier to learn, but I'm not kind, no, I don't want that. I will learn
Mhm.
anyways, and my
Mhm.
heart is good. And I get that because my both parents were very sweet. My mother had the same problems I had,
Of
but that
course.
helped me a lot to be more patient with myself.
Sure.
So
Well, because you have an
yeah,
answer. That makes a
yeah,
lot of sense. And I'm
yeah,
sure so many people listening can identify with that, or they might have the aha moment that you did
yes.
where like,
Like,
wait a
wait a
minute.
minute, you don't have a song in your head? But you do have some difficulties that really kind of, you were on your knees. Like, why I cannot
I'm
learn
sure.
this?
I'm sure. Especially because of the outside pressure, right? People
Yes.
expecting
Yeah.
something from you and you can't figure
Yes.
out why you can't deliver because there's this gap. Like I know I can do it. It might take
Yeah.
me longer. I might do it
Hmm.
differently. I can get
And,
there, but
and I know that people are different. They can be, people with ADHD, they tend to be, postpone things or, I don't want to do it. So I
mhm.
learned a while ago that I want to do it. I want to do it now. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? And
Mhm.
so I would jump on that right away. So I removed that problem a long time ago because
Mhm.
otherwise you will never be successful.
Right. Right. The
You'll be, oh, I will do
procrastination.
later. Oh, I'm
Sure.
sorry. Or excuses. I don't
Right.
have excuses. I'll man up to anything I do.
Oh my
you
gosh.
know,
So true. So true.
I'm like, yes, I made a mistake. I'm sorry. I'm not doing it again and move on.
Mhm.
And the other thing
Mhm.
is that I'm learning is that, you have to have the self love in the sense that you're going to forgive yourself.
Mhm. Yes.
And it's really hard because all the negative thoughts that a person, with
Yes.
ADHD is
Oh,
just,
I'm
we're
sure.
attacked all the time.
I'm
But then you
sure.
just, brush them off. The other thing that helps me a lot is Kundalini yoga, or meditation in the morning.
Yes.
I do it
Yes.
every morning. So if I have to be leaving my farm at 6 o'clock in the morning, I'm up at 3.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And I do my meditation, for, about an hour, 20 minutes, sometimes a better 2 hours. And for me, sitting down is so hard.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah, because you're so wiggly all the time. But it's getting better. And I want to become a teacher. I want to go to India to learn about Kundalini
Mhm.
teaching. So that's one of my plans for when it will happen. I'll let you know.
Well, it's interesting. They actually have published studies that say with meditation, you can actually help ADHD quite a bit.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
so, that's
Yes.
it's now becoming more mainstream
Uh huh.
meditation, yoga,
Yes.
and we're now
Yes.
realizing as a culture the benefits of it, even though it's been
Uh-huh.
around, for forever. But
Yes.
I'm really glad that we're talking about it more as a culture
Mm,
because I agree
mhm,
with you. There are many people out there suffering and they don't necessarily know maybe, what they have, or,
mhm,
to your point, you get into the mindset that something's wrong with you, even though
mhm,
that's not in my opinion, it's not accurate. It's just there are different ways of approaching the same task, the same subject, what have you. And with meditation, I know for me, it does really help to quiet all those thoughts and kind of get
mhm.
more into the flow of, okay, well, what do I want? I care less about what they want. I care
Yes.
more now about what do I want? What am I going to what am I going after? What am I going to do? And so that's
It's
been
really when
helpful.
you pray, you asking God for something, and when you're meditating, you give him the chance to tell you what's going on, what you need to
Hmm.
do. I
Mhm.
go sometimes to my meditations with specific questions.
Oh,
I need this answer. And and
mhm.
sometimes comes there that day, next day, or I'm feeding
Right.
the chickens and
Right.
I have that moment like, that's what I'm supposed to do.
Mhm.
Or, if I did something wrong, it comes later to me. You messed up on that one, buddy. You know what I mean? It's not always good. It's not always, oh, you're doing great. You're so wonderful. You're so kind of like, you shouldn't have done that. You know what I mean? And it's fair with you. And it comes, the answer sometimes is not what you want to hear. That's the
Right.
problem. And
Right.
also comes your
Yeah.
ego. Ego,
Yes.
it's is not your friend.
No.
So it calms your ego, and also, including there are some specific exercise with breath work that calms you down, and it keeps your ego a little bit at check, which is a
Mhm.
good thing
It
because
is.
sometimes
It
we
is.
we go all the way, well, on the way to be right, and you're not. You're not. You don't have to be right. Who
Right.
cares? Just do the best you can.
So I'm gonna take you back to, um, Studio City,
Yes.
Petco. We've worked together. We both
Yes.
then ended up going into, different career paths, and
Hmm.
you actually I find you so inspiring, and I really
Oh,
want you
thank you.
to just share, your journey, one, but
Hmm.
I also really think you could inspire other people as
Thank
to,
you.
they're maybe hesitant to take the
Hmm.
next step, or they don't even know where to start, right?
Hmm.
And oftentimes when we hear things or see things, it's someone who's already made it, and
Hmm.
it seems so far away that
Yes. It puts
you
you
don't
down.
even, well, yeah, you don't even know
Right.
how do I get from A to B? And we've been talking about where you've come from, and you had humble beginnings, and you had
Hmm.
this vision. First and foremost, you had a vision, and I think that's important. Some people call it a passion, some people, call it drive. Whatever it is to that person, they have that goal, purpose, whatever it is that they want to achieve, like you did, and then you made moves towards it. Maybe not always the right moves, we all mess up,
Hmm.
I
Oh
can tell
yeah.
you, I've
Yeah.
messed up a
Yeah.
ton. But what made you then finally take the plunge, and for the listeners, Paulo opened a very successful pet
Yeah.
boutique, I would say, but
Yes,
it's
it
a
was a
pet
pet
store.
boutique in a
Mhm,
grooming place. Yes,
mhm,
it's actually still running. I sold it almost 9 years ago. It's called Doggy Avenue. It's in LA, and it was the first thing. Back up a little bit. The first thing is that I ask when people, oh, I don't know what to do. I say, okay, so if you everybody has a dream, but if you don't know your dream, ask yourself, what would I do? Forget about money. If you have to have money, if you're going to make money, forget about that. What would I do that will make me happy all the time?
mhm.
And then, me, I always loved animals.
Yes.
So I wanted, what was my experience? I worked for Petco and ended up being, I started as a part-time cashier and I left as a store manager. And I worked so hard and I read everything I could read about it. And I worked with people. I learned from you because you knew a lot about reptiles, about this and that. I asked everybody questions about things, and that I knew I want to open a store. So when I thought, okay, I'm going to open a store, I already had a house. I worked so hard to get a house and I started saving. So it took me about 5 years to
Mhm,
have some chunk of money. I was buying clothes and stuff for the store without having the store. I
mhm,
was there at my house with you. Every drawer that you open, there was leashes and dresses and stuff that I was going to do, use. I start painting, how I wanted the store, and, painting furniture and having
mhm,
whatever I could do.
mhm,
The problem with people that you have to see what is your big goal in the end, but what are the steps that you can take every day to get there? Even if it's buy one leash for your
mhm,
store. I have
mhm,
one leash for my
mhm,
store. What can I read today that I can teach my clients? Because customer service runs on my blood. So
mhm,
what can I learn? What can I do? I also watched other people's mistakes. I will go to other
mhm,
stores and
mhm.
in a kind way of saying, I am not going to do that.
Right.
I don't want a
Right.
store that when people walk in, it smells like dog. You know
Mhm,
what I mean? And that's
mhm.
very hard because you're baiting dogs and stinky dogs and stuff.
Yes,
So
yes.
I cleaned that store day and night and it was impeccable.
Mhm,
And little things, what can I do? It's always if you're in customer service, what can I do for the other people? not for
Of
you,
course,
you know?
of course.
So
Yes.
the point of this is take one little step, write your goals,
Mhm.
and I put the time I want it done.
Yes.
I'm very
Yes.
specific. You ask the universe, it's infinite. There is for everybody. The other thing that I learned with the time is that for me to win, you don't have to lose. So
Exactly.
one
Yes,
of my
yes.
affirmations that I have in my mirror there is that please help me that everybody involved in this transaction wins.
Mhm. Mhm.
And
Yes.
everybody does.
Yes.
When in the end, when we close, I'm a realtor, and in the end, when that closing help happens, is that my clients are happy and the other side is happy. That's
Yes.
always my goal.
Yes.
So it's just little steps. People don't, really, I ran 2 marathons and that really changed my brain because if you can run a marathon, I was always the fat kid that couldn't run. You know what I mean? I was
Mhm.
like 12 years old and, everybody finished the one it was, 1 mile in 10 minutes. I was
Mhm.
halfway. I was a fat kid because when I was 7 years old, I had cancer, and my mother was so afraid that I was going to
Oh.
to come back. So she was always feed me. She's like, eat,
Sure.
eat, 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 eat.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
I was so chubby I couldn't run. And then when I was 40, I told my trainer, I'm going to run a marathon. She's like, great. But I had seen of one of those stickers on the back of the car, and
Mhm.
it's instead of 26.2 that is a marathon, I saw the 12.1 whatever,
Uh,
and I thought that
the
that was
half.
a marathon. So I can't do 12 miles. I don't know what these people do such a big deal. So I told everybody that I was going to do a marathon, and then she said, "Wow, yeah, 26.2. It's a long." Like, what are you talking about? Yeah, that's a marathon. Like I told
Mhm.
everybody I was going to do it. Now I have to do it. And I trained so hard. And then for my good luck, of course, it was the 25th marathon in LA. And there is this guy that was a famous runner that came before to change the route to one of the hardest in the country. And
Oh,
did he do a good job? So we started in the valley
wow.
and we ran over the hills and end up on the in front of the ocean, but it was a lot of zigzag through the he almost killed us. It was so hard, but I finished. It was great. And they said, yeah, make sure that you're out of the valley by, I think, start at 8, like 9:30, because it's going to be 92 degrees. I'm like,
Yes.
oh,
Yes.
that's LA,
Yes, of course it is, right.
but when you cross that last,
Isn't it
step,
amazing?
it
Yes.
changed like your brain forever because I knew that's something that I could do. You can do anything. So it was
Oh,
great.
running's one of the best ways to connect with yourself, I feel like. You
Yeah.
learn your body, you
Yes.
learn how strong or weak your mind is because
Yes.
it's
Yes.
really not about the body. To me, anyhow, when I've run, it's not
Hmm.
about the body being able to do it. It is my mind going to be able to
Hmm.
do it because
Are
you
you?
start to count those miles, you're like, okay, it's 5 miles until goal. And if I get
Yes.
into that pattern, it's a much harder run versus
Hmm.
if I'm out there and I'm just focusing on how do I feel? What am I looking at? And
Yes.
San Francisco is one of the best places to
Oh
run in.
my, with those heels. Yes.
You
Oh,
meet the best kinds of people, everyone,
yes.
all
Yeah.
walks of life, and
Hmm.
I love running. So yeah, I
That's great.
understand what you mean in
Hmm.
terms of you being able to do it. Once you can convince yourself to run that long
Yes.
and you
Yes.
it's crossing the finish line. It doesn't matter about
Yes.
time, just
No,
like
no, no.
anything in
Yeah.
life. Did you cross the finish line and then you did and you're like, I'm invincible and you can never go
Yes.
back, right? Like
No.
you've
You can
accomplished.
do it. You
Exactly.
learn that you can do something that you couldn't even imagine when you were 12 years old.
Mhm. Mhm.
I used to
Right?
like, how these people
Exactly.
these people are crazy. How can they do it? And you can't. So it's just it's amazing. It's really a great, great experience.
Well, I had just posted recently about mindset, and what
Uh,
I'm hearing from you throughout this
mhm.
conversation really is you've been very good about cultivating your mindset, being,
Yes.
very positive, focusing on the goal, not the mistakes,
Hmm.
learning and being kind with yourself
Hmm.
to apply what you've learned moving forward. And so,
Hmm.
as I mentioned, Doggy Avenue was very successful. I
Yes.
remember walking in, it looked like a clothing boutique at the highest end on
Oh,
Rodeo Drive,
thank
and
you.
You
we
curated
went
that
for the
so
killing.
beautiful. Yes, you did, and it was
I'm sure
it
you
was
like the black chandeliers, that's
it
for
was
sure.
spectacular. I mean, I wouldn't expect anything less. I was
Oh, but thank
absolutely,
you.
this is Paulo,
Yeah,
absolutely.
you know, it was such a wonderful place. We had a antique like sofa that people will sit there and stay for hours. And the thing, Jen, I have people that will come to the store and spend time. They didn't even have a pet.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah,
wow. That
yes.
is
We had
testament.
neighbors that came and sat with us. We had people that came with friends and they loved it. It's all about energy. And you know, the hard part was like when I left, the last day when I went to take the just take the keys and handle to the new owner. And I remember I walked through the back door and I cried
Of
because I felt
course.
all the people I loved and especially the animals that I
Yes.
had there that I will never see them again until we are in heaven. But or when, now still today people text me, Fifi died, and it's still like I feel the pain
Sure.
because those people, a lot of people didn't have kids, and those
Mhm.
dogs were their kids. And
Absolutely.
my animals are my kids,
Mhm.
they're just the TikTok of my heart, is just I have 24 goats and alpaca, I have a duck that is turning 15 that she's so old that she only walks in circles, and and I do, every day we do physiotherapy and we fix her neck, and then she always gets, I always save food, my food, because she likes to eat people's food. It's just
Mhm.
like little things that you do, little kindness that I really think it counts.
I definitely have learned that from you, like, working with you. Even the difficult people, you really
Uh,
were very gracious with them. It
yes.
tended to bounce off of you easier than it bounced off of me, most certainly, but I
I think you're more German than I am.
100%,
I am half German.
but I've
I
definitely
remember,
learned
like,
that.
you look at the place, don't even go there. You're like, oh God. But we clicked I remember this spot where I met you. I was at the restaurant the first day, and you walk in, and we look at each other and we smile. And it was just like, talking about past lives, or like, oh, I know you. You know what I
Yes,
mean? And
yes,
and also because we work so hard. You
yes.
always bound with those because, I
Mhm.
don't do really well with lazy people. I let them be, but it's just, they kind of get on my nerves. But yeah, we were just like, let's do it.
Let's go.
Yes, and I remember the time they had a goal for $100,000 a week on that little pet store there, and we did it. We did. I remember we broke that because we had the best team, and we have some funny people that work with us and some
Oh
crazy
my
stuff.
goodness, and some of the
Um,
customers, because of where we were in LA, we got
yes,
very
yes,
famous people that
yes,
came
lots
in,
of famous people. Yeah,
and oh my gosh, some of the famous people that came in and some of
yeah.
what they did, and oh my
They're just
god, gave me
like
a
you make
very
me.
different look into
Yes,
the
they make
Hollywood
me
life.
feel normal, you know what I mean? They were so crazy, so
Mhm.
it was funny because they toss you everywhere. Sometimes on Wednesday, the kids will come with the teachers and the parents, and they were like kids were like 5 years old or so, 6 years old, adorable bunch of, like, kids, and I would take them, from this section to, talk about animals and that's and
Right,
I
right.
love that because I love kids, I love animals, and educating, teaching is my thing. And I remember this adorable little boy. He was about 6 years old. And I was telling, we had a mouse a rat that was pregnant. And I said, do you know how many babies they can have? Because they can have up to 17. I think it was something interesting for them to have. And this little boy pulled my pants, like just pushed my pants a little bit like this. And he looked at me and he bit his lips and he said, Seth.
Oh my god.
And I couldn't. I said, "Why?" Because I couldn't put it together. Where he said, and he bit his lip like. I said, "Let's take a look at the fish now." I turned red as a
Oh,
tomato.
I'm sure, I'm
And then they
sure.
want to see that tarantula. We have one that it was from Mexico. I think it was the pink toe
Yes,
tarantula that
yes.
she was. That one, they were always nice. That one came without the Prozac. She was so mean, and she was inside. It was inside of a container, and then inside of those containers that you will
Mhm,
open
mhm,
and stuff.
right.
So they want to say, I said, okay, fine. So there was like 30 people there, and I opened the thing, and that thing jumped out of the box. on the middle of this. I saw that some parents didn't have real love because they left their kids behind and they were pushing each other and running and they dropped stuff on the ground. I cleaned that store
Oh my
in
gosh.
2 seconds, and then I think you came to pick up that thing because I remember not
Yes.
dealing with that. I said,
Right. Yes.
Jennifer, please come help. And that thing was like a ninja after people. I almost, they pay very badly in that company, but I learned a lot and I met some really wonderful people. So it was worth it. You know,
Absolutely,
yeah, it
absolutely.
was
I
really
think
worth
the
it.
first time I ever saw a glamorous standard poodle was because of you,
Oh,
and
thank
then
you.
yes, oh my,
Yes.
she's beautiful, and then
Sophia was beautiful. Yeah,
she
she
was
was my
that
heart.
gray, right? She was
Yeah, she
like
was
that,
silver.
yes,
Yes,
so
yeah.
she was
She
so
was really pretty
beautiful,
and so
so
sweet.
regal.
That dog really helped me making the United States my home.
Oh,
Because I
wow, okay.
remember, the first, I have my mother and, my father already was on the other side, but, my family stuff. And, I remember first Christmas and we were just like, I didn't have much
Yes.
money. And I bought like a little, one of those chickens from, $5 chicken from Costco or whatever
Mhm,
to,
mhm.
it was our Christmas and we sat on the ground and we ate, and that dog was there for me for every single time. Happy. And I told her, when I got her, I am going to have a store for you. That's one
Oh,
of the
wow.
reasons I want a pet store. And you're going to have, and I always kept her really well groomed. I groomed her, but you're
Yes,
going to have
yes.
your hair done every Friday. And the Mercedes
She
Benz that
looked better than I did
oh,
on most days.
she was beautiful. And I said, my Mercedes Benz are going to be all silver to match your hair. And I did keep
Oh.
that. And that dog was sitting in the car and she looked like, I made it, bitches. And I cooked food for her and she had everything she deserved. Sophia was my love. Yeah,
Oh,
she
she
was.
was beautiful, yes. So that brings me to so you decide to sell, you'd mentioned it, you decided to sell
Yes.
doggy daycare,
Yeah.
and then you moved to Colorado. Why
Yes.
Colorado?
It's the funniest thing. I am very sensitive to people and I read energy on people very easily. And the
Mhm,
older I am, the better I get with that. And this beautiful girl, she was in her 20s, she came in to interview me to bring her dog because that's how,
ah,
people
mhm,
are in LA. So
mhm,
she had this beautiful little Pomeranian and she came and she said, "Oh, I heard really good things about you guys. And but I really want to see if, we'll fit." I
mhm.
said, sure. So she spent, what was supposed to be 5 minutes conversation became 45 minutes. And I said, you're so nice. Where are you from? I could tell she was not from LA.
Yes.
Actually, nobody is from LA. Everybody is from some other places. And then she said, "Oh, I'm from Fort Collins, Colorado." I said, "From where?" Fort Collins. I said, "Can you write it down for me?" So I still have her card with the thing said Fort Collins, Colorado. She left the store. I listened to my intuition and I went straight to, online, see what this Fort
Mhm,
Collins is about.
mhm,
I said, you know what? That would be a great place for my farm because I was looking for a farm in around LA because for
mhm.
35 years I want a farm.
Right.
So I called a realtor. I wasn't a realtor yet. I called a realtor and I talked to her and she asked, "Have you ever been to Colorado?" I said, "No, but I've been saving for years. It has been on my 35 years list that I crossed, that I passed to the next year, and I want
Mhm,
to cross this." She says, "I'm not kidding. I'm not going to waste your time. Send me pictures." And she starts sending pictures. And then she sent me pictures of this gorgeous place that had 3 lots and they were about 35 acres minimum. And
wow.
they sold one right away. Then the second was sold right away. Like, oh
Oh, wow.
my goodness. And then it was December. I was going to go traveling. And instead of that, I put my dog in the car and I drove from LA to see this land. And I
Yes.
took one look at the land, and when the realtor turned, I was peeing on the trees already because that place was mine. I peed on the place and said, "This is mine." So we closed in 14 days later. Yeah, it
Wow,
was,
that's
but didn't
quick.
have water, didn't have electricity, nothing. And everything cost a chunk. When you're talking about land, everything costs more.
Yes,
So
yes.
I saved for 2.5 years and I was able to buy put the electricity and the water and buy the water that was very expensive, but everything worked. And then I came before I moved here. I bought a trailer, a used trailer so I could stay there. and I
Sure.
bought like maybe four little those sheds so I could bring my chickens, and I have a
Mhm,
couple of
mhm,
cats,
mhm.
so the animals are comfortable, and I could
Oh,
be in
so
the
you
trailer.
didn't go back and forth. You
No,
stayed.
I never came back. So when I came back, actually, I called the ex owner and I said, "Could you please tell me how to get there because I don't know how to get there?" And he had the same laugh. He said, "Okay, you turn here, you turn there," because I put in a GPS, but it was not even the land was you couldn't find even a GPS because there was nothing there. So I came back to the land and I saw those beautiful views of the mountains and stuff. This
Oh, how
is a
nice.
slice of paradise.
Yes.
So, yeah, so, I built a small home there and I was comfortable. But then I got married and my husband said, I know you love your C3 and I know you love your beautiful land, but you cannot, we cannot be together because we're 3 hours apart. And
Sure.
he was still working. He was a colonel for the army and I had to go to work every day. I said,
Mhm.
sure. So I sold his house. That was a very nice home. Because we couldn't have goats there. He had like about 4 acres, but he couldn't have
Mhm,
goats. And
mhm.
that's when I knew that was the right person for me because he said, you sell my land, you sell your farm, and we buy a farm together so we can move and have all your animals. I said, "Yeah, this is the guy for me. Because he was kind of marrying like the octo mom, you know what I mean? With so many kids. And so I sold his house, and then we found this house that we live now, and it was very hard for me to, let my farm go. But I
I'm
had a
sure.
prayer, please God help me that I can sell it to a family or someone that will love this place as much as I do and that respects this land because I never use pesticides on the land. I love that
Wonderful.
land. So
Yes.
it was great. So yeah,
No, that's
very happy,
wonderful.
very, very happy. Yeah.
Yeah, I was walking yesterday around and I had mentioned that when I have the funds, I really want to buy land, not necessarily for just my personal use, but for conservation. All changes make a big
Yes,
difference. So,
small steps.
yeah, exactly. All right. So, you're now a very successful realtor
Yeah.
and you've been doing that for how long?
It's going to be 4 years this October 22nd.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
So it was the hardest profession I ever had. That's for sure. Because I came in where, every year I heard, this is the worst year ever for this profession. Like, hit me. I can take it. Make me suffer because I love it.
Exactly. You like the challenge.
Oh yeah,
Absolutely.
but it's really hard because it's expensive to do pay for everything, and it's especially for somebody who has ADHD to learn all those contracts and all
Oh,
those
I'm
words and
sure.
all that stuff. Like, oh my! But I learned two things at least with my animals. With my chickens, I learned that I watching them that they're just scratching and they're enjoying their time, and we get so stressed. They're not stressed about anything. They're in the moment. They scratch, oh bug, no, and we're like,
Mhm,
how am
mhm,
I going to pay all these taxes and whatever? And
mhm.
with my little pygmy goat that I had for 12 years, Anastasia, I learned that if you hit your head on the wall enough, eventually you break through it. That's exactly what I learned, Terrell, because it was so hard. It was so hard. It took 9 months for me to sell the first piece, and I'm there every day at 4 o'clock in the morning.
Mhm,
I was
mhm.
4 o'clock in the morning. I was ready to go. I woke up at 2:30. 4 o'clock, I was there, and I will stay until 2:30, 3 o'clock, and then go back, home to take care of my animals. And it looked like I was the business bee on the planet. I had nothing going on. I didn't have one
Sure.
client. I didn't have
Right.
one lead. I didn't have
Right.
anything.
But you were
But also,
doing everything to
yes,
get that client, to
yes,
get
I
that lead.
learn
Yes.
every day. I study a lot. I ask questions. I was very lucky to work for a company that is so loving and supporting. People with a lot of experience will come and help me. I have mentors that were so sweet until today. I bug them, and but it's nice to be now when you start raising it to the top. And it's a good experience. But the other thing is I learn is that even if you learn, a little bit, you can share with other people.
Mhm.
You know what I
Yes.
mean? And it's the
Yes.
best way to really master something is teaching it. If you want to learn something, you read, you
Absolutely.
study that. But if you want to master it, you teach it. And why is that? Because people will have questions that you don't have it. I never
Absolutely.
thought about that. And that works for my mentors too, because like, what about that? And they're like, oh, I never thought about that.
Mhm, mhm.
It's, and
Yes.
I also, when I'm learning something, I'm learning with the plan to be able to teach to somebody else.
Oh, okay.
So
Yeah.
if I'm learning, like, how
Yep.
can I tell that to somebody else that comes one day and asks me
That's
that?
really clever. Yes.
Because I want to be a mentor. I want to
Right.
be a mentor to other people.
I think for me, learning, I had to release the ego because
Yes.
it's uncomfortable, because
Yes.
for me, not
Hmm.
knowing information,
Hmm.
it sometimes made me anxious
Yes.
because I wanted to know, right? But I had to tell myself, like, this is the journey. You're not going
Yes.
to know. So get
Yeah.
comfortable being uncomfortable
Oh,
and
yes. It's
relax
hard.
into it. And I've
Uh-huh.
had wonderful people, you and so many
Oh,
other
thank
people in
you.
my life that are
Yeah.
just so kind in sharing
Thank
information
you.
that it made it accessible. It wasn't so scary anymore. And so, I think to your point, people need to hear that sure, you're going to be uncomfortable. Learning
Hmm.
can be uncomfortable,
Yes.
but then you can get to the point to what you're mentioning where you're now the teacher, now you're sharing that information, and then,
Yes.
you're making the community better by
Hmm.
sharing what you know, and then everybody benefits, to your point earlier.
Yes. Yes.
I
It's
really
just.
believe that too, there's enough for all of us. Like, everyone
Hmm.
told me, "Why are you going to coffee? Coffee's such a saturated market." And I
Hmm.
said, "I understand that that's your perspective. I think
Hmm.
there's enough for all of us, Someone's
Hmm.
going to like my coffee, someone's going to
Hmm.
like someone else's coffee, and that's
Hmm.
okay, you know?
Yes.
I
Yes.
don't
But
need
I
to
so.
world dominate coffee."
No, no. But you know what? It's about the customer service. There's a
Yes.
million
Oh my
realtors
goodness,
out there.
yes.
But you wanna
Yes.
be the one that answers the phone. You wanna be
Yes.
like the one that checks on you. And it's not when the
Yes.
deal is done. I have about 50 birds. So, well, first of all, I have an excuse to have all those birds, but chickens and ducks and guineas and such because so I raise eggs I give baskets with fresh
Mhm.
eggs to my clients.
Yes.
It's such a good way, like, oh, I love you. I was thinking about you. So
Mhm.
even if it's just a hug and you go away, but it gives you a chance to talk to people and make them feel loved.
Yes.
We have to love more people and we have to love each
Yes.
other and it's just
Yes.
ourselves. And people are so afraid of, saying I love you. And I use that word until I cannot use it anymore. And in every box I give the egg says love is everything. This is the name of our new farm is Love is
Mhm.
Everything
Mhm.
Farm.
Yes.
The other thing I learned that helps me a lot, I tell myself, we are all doing the best we can with whatever we
Mhm.
got.
Mhm. Yes.
Maybe that person or didn't have a father that was kind to him.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Maybe
Yes.
that person was abused, that maybe that kid was sexually abused. There is a
Yes.
lot of things that really give people a much harder beginning.
Yes. I
But
agree.
I don't give anybody excuse to mistreat me or anybody in front of me.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That
It's
is
being
not,
able to
then you have to
see
work on that.
with kindness. Yes.
Yes, it was not your fault to have what it was done to you, not at all. But it's your responsibility to recover and do
Yes.
better, even if it's a
Yes.
little bit. Be kinder and help people.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yes.
It's the way it is.
Absolutely.
Some things that you learn when you're getting older, but yeah, every day you learn a little something
Well,
and you
thank
keep
God we're
going.
not getting older.
Thank God, where vampires live forever. Just
It's
like
it's your energy makes you glow though. So
oh, thank you.
age is irrelevant for you,
You know what?
truthfully.
I am going to be 98.7 when I die, and I want to be the old guy that people love. That they want to be
You're
around.
well on your way.
Thank you.
100%.
It's
Yeah.
just like, it makes a difference. I really believe that we came here to bring a little bit of light,
I
just a
think
little
so
bit.
too. Yes.
If you
Me through
walk in,
coffee, you through real
yes,
estate now.
absolutely. And you know what? I read not too long ago that coffee raises your vibration.
It
It does. It
does.
does because that's why we all love it. Because you have that little coffee and it smells so
Yes.
good. And
Yes.
especially when it's cold here in Colorado, you have that. Sometimes I wrap myself out and it's cold. I get my little doggy and we go sit outside and we're so comfortable and I'm drinking my coffee. That's
Mhm.
my ritual in the
Mhm.
winter. In front of the
Absolutely.
fireplace, it does make things special. So,
Yeah, and when I'm working, like, I think I'm similar to you in the way that I'm actually thinking of the people I don't know them, but I'm thinking of the
mhm.
people that I want to roast the coffee for, right? I'm
Yes.
thinking of them enjoying it. I'm thinking of me gifting it to them, and I think I'm putting my love and energy into the coffee, and then
You absolutely
hopefully
are.
they're drinking that on the other side, and so
Yes.
it goes back to that customer service piece
Mhm,
that you were
mhm,
talking about. It's
mhm.
really important that whoever's spending money on the coffee they're buying for me, that coffee, 1, the service is great, the coffee tastes great, I'm
Yes.
always available. They wanna
Yes.
chat coffee with me, please do. They don't even have
Sure.
to buy from me. Like, "You wanna know
Yes.
about coffee? Let's
You
chat about
sure.
coffee." I'd
Yes.
be
Yeah.
happy to. And I'm
Uh-huh.
similar to you in that way, that I really just wanna connect with the community and
Mhm,
be a space for love and
mhm,
acceptance, and,
mhm.
that's really what the journey is about for me.
We
Coffee is the
need that.
medium, but
Yes.
it's really about connecting. I've been so blessed to know so many beautiful people, and I want
Mhm,
everybody else to have that same experience. And I think,
mhm,
to your point, you can be so closed off that you're
mhm.
missing all these opportunities,
Yes.
you
Yes.
know?
You
And I
know,
want people to be open.
we always focus to get to where we wanna be, but
Mhm.
what I've been learning is really to enjoy every step of the
Yes.
journey. What
Yes.
can I learn?
Yes.
How can I help?
Yes. Yeah.
You know,
Even
and
when it's tough. Yes.
it's tough. When it's tough is the tough lessons that we grow the most.
I
We
agree.
really we can really change the way we think about things just when we have a really, really hard situation.
Mhm.
So
Yes.
in the end, you come out just happy and kind. And talking about your coffee, everything is carries energy. If I give you a little gift that I made for you or bought for you, and even if it's a simple thing that carries the energy of my love. And when you receive that, or 10 years later, I have things that I look 10 years later, 20 years, oh, that person gave that to me. It's so nice. That's energy. That's the energy
Yes.
you have in your coffee because you're
Yeah.
putting so much love. And I can tell that you care for it because it's just something that is your passion.
All right, so tell me, you're working for, let me make sure I get this right,
Yes.
C3 with State Solution, did I
Yeah,
say that right?
Real Estate
Real estate.
Solutions. Yeah,
Okay,
C3 Real
real
Estate
estate.
Solutions. It's a wonderful company opened by these two wonderful men, John and Jesse. These two guys are just wonderful. And we have about 150 people working for the company, but it's
Wow,
it's
it's a
it
big
feels
company.
like a small company because it's loving and caring, and somebody needs something, we all get together and help. There is that
Wonderful.
love and support, and there's people that sell $50 million a year. I am so happy for them. You just my mentor sells a lot. I'm so happy for her. They inspire me. There is no jealousy. There is
Mhm.
no unkindness. We support people. They support women, and that's why I drive 3 hours one way to have a mini.
Oh my gosh, you are the most
Yes.
dedicated. So, for anyone in the state of Colorado,
Yes,
because I know
yes. I
you say
sell
basically
everywhere.
you will service everyone everywhere. How
I
do
have
they
a closing in Pueblo in a couple weeks. I have listing in Victor that is in the back of the mountains. I have a listing in Loveland. I am all over the place. I love going and helping people. So,
so
what was your
how would
question, sir?
how would people get a hold of you in the state of Colorado because they wanna work with Paulo?
Okay,
I
yeah,
know they
sure.
wanna work with you.
I
How would
can
they get
give
in
you my
contact?
telephone number. Is that okay?
Absolutely.
970-999-2410. And
And
love
they
is
would
everything.
and they would email you at?
You can reach me at goldengardens22 at gmail.com.
Perfect. Okay, because I want everyone in the state of Colorado to use you. You're fantastic. And so before we end, what is the one thing you want every listener to know?
I want you to know that you are loved, that you are special, that you're more than enough. And the last thing I want to say, that love is everything. That's all.
I adore you so much.
I
Thank
love
you
you,
for
Jen.
being
Thank you
my
so much.
guest. This
Thank you
has
for your
been
time.
wonderful.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Listeners, remember, brew well and connect often. Thank you for my guest, Paulo Zanetti. And until next time, everyone, enjoy the rest of your day.